Who's wrong and who's wronger? In this corner, followed by millions, James the Exploding Unicorn Breakwell. And in that corner, ignored by millions, Steve Dash Rinko
Hey everybody, welcome back. It feels like we were just here 30 seconds ago, and in fact we were. Breakwell's life is like a barroom brawl minus the swinging doors that lead onto a dusty street. Do you want to explain to people why we have to do and redo these intros?
I just want there to not be screaming in the background. These microphones, they pick up everything, and various members of my family forget that and choose recording time as screaming time. That's why ideally I record this when I'm home alone. Sometimes that's not possible. Everybody's here for spring break. So we will see if we can have 25 minutes of scream-free recording. I'm doubtful, but hey, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
You know, screaming is at least an upgrade for the one time I believe you had a naked child descending the staircase behind you. This was years ago, but it did happen.
Not only did it happened when you were here in person. So normally you can't see anything happening in my house until after I edit it. But that time when you were here live, yes, they thought, or they forgot that clothes are generally necessary when descending to a lower floor with many open windows. But again, I don't think like a child. So who's to say what was going through her head at the time?
But everything, because Dad is home, is under control, buttoned down now. Is that what you're telling me, James?
Yes, clearly I have imposed order, and nothing else could possibly go wrong in this 25-minute recording.
Okay, I had to find some wood to knock on there.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, you know what? I think we stopped our last recording at 1:51 on my clock here. So we just made it to a minute 52. That is forward progress, Steve. Forward progress.
I can't tell you how proud I am.
New personal best for today. That's right.
Well, James, you were going to tell a story. You were going to regale the listeners with a little tale that your subscribers have already been privy to, but not from the horse's mouth, because you are the king of surgeries and medical problems and start-overs and redos, and here we go with a new one at least. I suppose that's an upgrade too, right?
That's true. I'm not hurting the same areas over and over again. I'm finding new things to go wrong. This one, like everything else in my life, though, is totally not my fault. I blame my parents. I clearly
like everything else?
Was built with faulty DNA. There was something wrong in the construction process as I was grafted. Because apparently there's a few holes in my construction where there should not be some. Specifically, there are some gaps between where my majestic abdominal muscles connect with my not quite as majestic leg muscles, the ones I can never get to grow. And anyway, I've been working out, and apparently these holes have just been hanging out there my whole life. And recently I was lifting, and I came back, and I felt a little bit of pain. But, you know, like, life is pain, Steve. Life is suffering. You go to the gym to make everything hurt. You figure you're doing it well. And it was a little bit of pain in the groinish area. I thought, you know what? I don't really use my groin in most lifts too much. But hey, whatever. You know, maybe I'm just engaging my core more effectively. Who knows? And a few days.
I'm engaging my groin more effectively. That's what I auto-corrected to. You know what?
I felt it honestly doing deadlifts where they're at the top of the motion. It's literally nobody listening cares about. But there's a hip thrust motion at the top of it, to where your body goes from folded over to straight. You drive the hips forward to give you that extra little momentum. And I thought I had especially good hip drive that day. And I thought the pain was my reward for correctly engaging my lower body. Usually I just let my lower back carry the whole weight. You know, screw it. You know, my back's there for a reason. Might as well get some good out of it. So I thought I was lifting more correctly. But it turns out my insides were shooting out of my body and can no longer be contained. Those holes, each of which is a hernia. People think the hernia is like when stuff stuff comes out, but it's not. The hernia itself is just having the hole. And so some stuff shot out of one of those holes, and I looked in the mirror afterwards when I took a shower, and I was like, I don't think that weird bulge is supposed to be there. It was very squishy. I pushed it and kind of bounced back.
Oh, God!
It didn't really hurt. And so I was like, I looked it up, and it took me about 10 seconds to find it. It was like a textbook example of an inguinal hernia. It was like exactly where it was supposed to be describing. I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a very obvious problem. And the only treatment in the entire world is surgery. We've got all these medical scientists out there researching all these things, and they haven't come up with anything better than just cutting me open. That is it. So I went and saw my surgeon 2 days later. Yes, my surgeon, because I get surgeries enough that I have my own personal surgeon now. I went and saw him, and he didn't even need to examine me. He's like, oh yeah, I went back and looked at your CT scans from when your appendix blew up, and that was the exact term he used, a very medically specific when your appendix blew up. You can trust my quotes here. And he said, yeah, I just looked at your old CT scan, and yeah, definitely your hernia was there. And that's when I discovered I didn't have one hernia, I had three. So only one hernia has like bodily chunks pushing their way out of it. The other two are just kind of sitting there, like nothing's come through yet. And he's like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and go in there and fix them all. And it's like, why didn't you fix them in there before? You were in there rummaging around. You had me cut open. Couldn't you have just done a one-stop shop? But that's not how they work. They only
he was leaning on lunchtime, James. Come on.
They just fix what's going to kill him today, not what's going to give him a better quality of life tomorrow. Because honestly, once you open that Pandora's box, if you're going to go and fix every hole that's not supposed to be there, I mean, you'd be inside me all day tidying up this and that. There's not time for that. So they're going to go in laparoscopically on April 17th, and they're going to, well, I assume, push back down the stuff that's shooting out, and then they're going to put mesh in there and let it reintegrate. And I've been working so hard to get back in shape in the gym. I had the appendix surgery in August. I had wrist surgery in September, and I slowly worked my way back up. I haven't missed a day in the gym since November. And man, I was setting new PRs. Things were going good. Then my body exploded again, and I will be going back to square one. So I've got 3 weeks where I can just trash my body because it just doesn't matter. They're going to go in there and reset everything anyway. So I'm just going to eat garbage and lounge around, and we'll go back to square one, and we'll see if I try to climb that mountain again, or maybe this time I'll just hang out at the bottom and let natural decay take its course. I am really undecided at this point.
Wow. I don't even know. This is it got uncomfortable for a few moments there, but
uncomfortable is our comfort zone. Let's be honest here, Steve.
I remember the late Father Schaefer at St. James Elementary School in McWanago, Wisconsin, took an opportunity to explain to everybody who were in maybe 6th grade and horrified what a hernia was, because we had a basketball that got a little tear in it because it was super old, and a little bit of the like the bladder popped through in like a bubble.
Yeah.
And so he took great pride in explaining this is what a hernia is, if you've ever heard, because we use the word hernia as like we knew what it meant, but nobody knew what it meant. We just knew that if you lifted a lot, you're going to get a hernia. I don't know who got that information. Probably somebody with an older sibling. You know how that goes. But yeah, just looking at it gave me a visual that was very difficult to get out of my nightmares for a while in 6th grade. And now you have torn the scab off of that wound and brought it all roaring back because you had a basketball bladder bubbling through a hole that wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, and I asked him, I was like, so what's coming out of me? What is that? And he said, oh, it's probably just probably fat. So it's like, I guess that's what's down there. It's not really like an important organ. I guess fat is kind of an organ, but I guess I'm not as lean as I thought. Some subcutaneous fat pushed its way out. We know it's not the intestine, because if it was the intestine, I would be in excruciating pain, and that's when you die. And I said, well, is that going to happen? Because I've got these holes sitting there. It's like, oh, there's a 1% chance. So there is a 99% chance I will live these next 20 days just fine. Only a 1% chance of catastrophic pain resulting in emergency surgery rather than, regularly scheduled surgery.
I can just picture him like munching on a pear while he's talking to you. I don't know, 1% chance you'll die. And just like, I don't like reading a magazine and what does he care? If you live or die, there's someone else that'll take your place on his patient roster, I'm sure.
I don't think he was concerned because like this was in his wheelhouse. Like I come in here and I was like, here's a clearly identified problem with a clearly identified solution that's going to result in him getting paid. Like this is his bread and butter. It's not like I came in with like a mystery, condition. He's like, well, I guess I'll rummage around and maybe it'll fix you, maybe it'll kill you. Like, surgeons like certainty. He gets to go in there. He gets to be the hero. And afterwards, he's like, man, your abdominal wall there, it's only going to be at 85% strength. And, that sounds terrible. But, well, this is me saying that, thinking that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But he goes, but right now, you're at 0%. Like there's nothing holding stuff back. If it wants to come out, it just comes out. Like I've been living my life at 0, Steve. And I'm gonna be up to 85.
Wow.
I'm gonna be like Superman. I'm gonna be lifting cars and stuff after this.
Yeah, God, and hopefully those 3 holes are the only ones that exist because you're living the kind of life, James, that will find a new hole if there's one to be found.
This is true. I know the great part is so my sister-in-law, my wife's oldest sister, she adopted a couple girls a while back, and I think they're 5 and 7 now, and one of them also has a hernia, which I just recently discovered because I just don't listen when other people talk. But apparently she has the one that kids get, like it's the belly button hernia, and they're going to go ahead and they are going to get that treated. Like she is scheduled for surgery as well to have her hernia treated. And when she found out that I also have a hernia, well, hernias plural, she said that she was getting candy if she was brave. And she offered me some candy. If I was brave too, she will give me some sour gummy worms. So let me just say, things are looking up in James Breakwell land. And there is a bag of gummy worms out there with my name on it. I don't think she realized I don't need to be told to be brave though, because this is like not a big deal for me. I get surgery as often as I fill up my van with gas. Okay, this is just another errand I run. I mean, let's be honest. This is 3 times in 8 months. I mean, think of all the things you've done 3 times in 8 months. Like at some point, it's just like, I'll live or I die, whatever.
Well, I mean, that's your surgeon's point of view too. So,
dead men can't sue. I think that's how that works.
Boy, if your little niece is going to give up a bag of gummy bears, if you're brave, she just bought herself a new bag of gummy bears. I'm actually kind of happy for her.
Yeah, I would think those would be replaced. Like, I would not think her mom and dad would make that come out of her, like, personal supply. But I don't know. I don't know what kind of life lessons they're trying to teach over there. But I will happily munch on those sour gummy worms. And those will probably be the only thing that's gone right in my life in the last 8 months. So I got that going for me. It feels pretty good, Steve. Feels pretty good.
You know what? That came out backwards. I don't know how exactly I said it, but what I'm saying is the odds of you being brave are actually lower than the odds of you dying of this hernia. And you can ask your surgeon to explain that one more clearly to you.
What is there to be afraid of? Man, going under for surgery is magical. Like, you ever get those things in life and you're like, I just wish I had a skip ahead button. You know, like back in the old days of DVDs, just go to the next scene because this part is terrible. And man, you go in for surgery and it's like, hey, I'm dying. You blink and you're like, hey, you're on all the drugs and we got the bad part out. Like, that's awesome. Or like when I went in for my wrist surgery, at first, like, we're going to put you under this weird twilight dream-like sleep. You'll be awake, but you probably won't remember it. I was like, that sounds terrible. He's like, or we can just knock you out. I'm like, yes, that one. I don't even want to hear the downsides. Just knock me out. Once again, they rolled me in there. I blinked. They rolled me out. Spectacular. I'm going to go in there with 3 holes. I'm going to blink. I'm going to come out with 0 holes and a bag of gummy worms, okay? There is nothing to be afraid of there.
It's a little uncomfortable again. Yeah. I can just picture your surgeon like Ivan Drago in Rocky IV saying, if he dies, he dies.
You know, I feel like he has an incentive to keep me alive, though. I'm going to keep him in business for years.
You're the golden goose.
Yeah, who knows what else is going to go wrong, man. He can go. We can practice all his new surgery techniques on me. It's, you just need, every business needs regulars. And surgeons have too many people. They see them once and never again. Just totally ungrateful as customers. Me? I keep coming back. They should give me a punch card where I get my 10th surgery free, just like ice cream cones. I would maximize the value of that. I'm going to start searching for surgeries on Groupon, okay? I'm going to find these deals, get them in bulk, and I'm going to be better for it. I'm just going to capitalize. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to enjoy the anesthesia, and I'm going to enjoy my sugary treats, Steve. So I'm sorry that you're jealous of my high quality of life and improved situation. Yes.
Your surgeon just starts writing Breakwell in his book, and it's after BREA, he just finishes out bread and butter. That's all he writes. He doesn't even write Breakwell anymore.
Yeah, it's in the last one I had to drive to another part of Indianapolis to do it. This time they're coming to me. You're like, oh yeah, we'll do it at your local hospital. You're good. You don't have to drive nowhere. I'm getting the concierge service now. Okay, this is the kind of thing you only get at Surgery 3. People who stop at Surgery 1 or 2, man, they don't know what they're missing out on.
Oh yeah. Lightweights, yeah. Absolutely. Boy, you have such a pragmatic approach to going under. And if you do die, you'll be the last one to know anyway.
Exactly.
So that really doesn't matter. And there is something almost, you used the word magical. And I got to say, that's probably spot on. It is sort of like leprechaun magic, where you really do. The doctor puts the thing in and says count backwards from 100, and you say, I'm sorry, what did you say? And then that's it. And then you wake up and it's all over.
I do have to say, okay, let's go back. So our premise of being comfortable with the uncomfortable. If you have young children listening to this podcast in the car, the one person who's listening, or if you have a weak constitution, use that skip ahead button and go to the next episode, because you're probably listening to our back catalog, because you're not ready for this. But if you are brave, if you are not just brave but gummy worm brave, I'm going to go ahead and describe. I forgot. I tuned this out because I'm such a positive guy. But the surgeon did describe some downsides. So if he were to do the hack and slash approach, the old surgeon way of just cutting some big slashes in there and you're big enough to fit 2 hands in there and rummage around, afterwards, I would have big nasty scars, but the only pain I would feel would be where the scars were, because that's where they go in, and that's it. It's just kind of a very surface pain. It looks horrible, but hey, very concentrated pain in a very concentrated area. If they go in laparoscopically, though, they go when they cut teeny tiny holes that, they don't even stitch them up. The holes are so small. At least that's what they did with my appendix. And so they go in behind the muscle. And because of that, there's no pain at the entry point. In fact, the pain and the swelling kind of tend to pool. And they are directed by gravity. So the pain point is not going to be where I have my hernias.
No.
It's going to sink down lower. And there's going to be potentially some swelling. And when the surgeon described...
We're talking about your knees and your ankles.
Yes.
Knees and ankles.
When the surgeon described the swelling, Steve, he held his hands apart. And I'm hoping he just has poor spatial awareness, which I guess is an alarming quality in a surgeon. Because if the distance he held his hands apart is an indication, he was describing a basketball-like area of volume, something that should be physiologically impossible. If that is accurate, I will not be walking. I will not be sitting in a chair. I don't know if I'll be alive. That surely can't be accurate for the worst case scenario, but his hands were where they were, and that is one potential scenario.
And then if you accidentally sat on that basketball,
I would like to think I would just bounce safely and harmlessly. I'm assuming a high degree of elasticity here.
So you will be from henceforward known as James of the prodigious scrotum.
You just had to spell it out. We were going with so much nuance and tact, dancing around it.
I wanted to use prodigious.
You just blast out the word, man. I got to get you a thesaurus. You get the synonyms, the euphemisms. This is a classic
stretch
podcast.
That far?
What?
My God, could you grab it and pull it over your head? I don't think it'll be as big of a basketball as a... I can't even talk right now. I'm breaking out in a schwitz.
Yeah,
oh my
man.
God.
So that's, I guess, but if we go that route, I will say my gummy worms will be well earned. But who knows? It's that's what.
When I had the pee-pee surgery 4 years ago, you made fun of me for sitting with an ice bag on myself. Notice I didn't use the word because you're so easily offended or sensitive. You are going to be in that exact situation, James Breakwell, and the tables shall turn.
I can't imagine anything worse than using ice in that situation. That sounds like a form of torture. I have to say, I've had 2 surgeries so far, and I have not used ice after any of them, and I have used only minimal painkillers. I think on both of them I took like some, well, for the appendix, I was in the hospital for a few days, so they gave me pain medicine by IV, but when I left, I just stopped taking them. And my wrist surgery, they sent me home the same morning, and I think I popped 1 pain pill and just stopped taking them after that. I guess I am very well situated to being cut open, or I just don't have a lot of nerves on the inside of me. Like, you think about how unsensitive I am on the exterior, I'm just as unfeeling on the inside. I don't even feel my own pain, so I'm definitely not going to feel yours.
That was the title of your first book, I believe.
Yes. Can't hurt me, can't hurt you. Don't care. Actually, I thought I was going to come up with something witty there, but I don't.
No, only dead on the inside.
Oh, only dead on the inside. I did. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll be darned. I already took care of the witty part. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I was witty in the past. I used those brain cells, and now I can just slowly kill them and let them deteriorate over time. I think my life is going on about the trajectory I expected. So all according to plan, Steve.
Wow, so somewhere in the tea leaves, you would meet a handsome, somewhat older stranger and begin a podcast with him that would extend well past its usefulness into the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine if we didn't have this podcast, these moments, these special moments, talking about regions of the body that should not be discussed. They would just be lost. They would exist only in my mind, tragically unshared. But now, what's the opposite of the masses? We're not sharing this with the masses. We're sharing this with the minimums. I don't know. We're
the menace.
We're sharing this with the 1 to 2 people who accidentally click on it on their way to more important and meaningful podcasts. And I think we're making a difference here, Steve. Think of the days we ruined. Think of the people who like or person singular who was listening to this and then nearly veered off the road when we hit the salient point there. You know, we're making a difference.
Yeah. I'm just saying people need to tune into a less scroty podcast than this one. And we've about worn that one out.
Yeah, let us.
And James,
go ahead.
Keep in mind, when I was laid up with my surgery, I sang Justin Bieber in what I believe was the first penalty video because we had just launched that special feature that lived a glorious life before being decommissioned about maybe 6 or 8 months later. But maybe we need to get you jacked up on the goofball and singing Justin Bieber in the aftermath of this surgery.
You know, the only people who watch my YouTube channel are my own children because it's just a catalog of them mostly. It is their own personal archive. And my oldest daughter, the one who, has reason to be most ashamed of me, actually went back to one of those penalty videos the other day and showed her friends. Like, I don't quite get her angle. Maybe she was like saying, look what I've overcome with this DNA, with this bloodline, the fact that I am here and who I am today. I mean, talk about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. So I think her friends were all thoroughly impressed. Like it's the ultimate game of one-upsmanship. You're going, my dad is so embarrassing. My dad did this. My dad did that. And she can just go up and pull out a video archive. Doesn't even just say anything. Just hits play. And it's game over. And I feel like this episode is going to serve the same purpose. Now, she would never watch the podcast, but if it accidentally autoplays after she's watching some other embarrassing video of me, this would be another one. She would just say it. She'll be dating somebody someday, be like, well, do I need to meet your parents? And she'll play this video and be like, oh, clearly no. No, we don't. Not now, not ever.
Do you remember which video it was?
No, it was... I think it was the Footloose one, I think is what she said. She said something about driving around in a little pink car, but I could be wrong.
Well, the children participated in many of those too, so you can always say it was their idea.
Yes.
And in fact, you and your children made an appearance in my Justin Bieber video and did a great job. It's a video worth rewatching if anyone has not seen it in a while.
We did not bring the appropriate level of enthusiasm that we should, but that was when I was still trying to be more technically correct, and I didn't realize that the failures are what make it great. So later on, we were much less accurate to what we were supposed to be doing, but we had much more enthusiasm, much more joy for life. Much like I feel joy for life right now as I face this impending surgery and gummy worm bonanza. So it all comes full circle, Steve.
And we get to quit now.
Yes!
We get to end this episode.
Spectacular. Man, everyone who drove off the road, I apologize. Please don't sue. If you do, please direct all lawsuits to Steve Olivas. He publishes his real name and address on the internet, so you do you. I don't even exist. James Breakwell isn't even a real person, and with any luck, I will die on the table. So there.
Well, until we meet again and you get all the evidence you need if your children ever want to get divorced from you and emancipate into their own lives, this is Steve Olivas, Dr. Steve, who can safely and with confidence say I am the normal one between us. For James, you get what you see, Breakwell, saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I apologize on behalf of my co-host, and until we meet again, two wrongs can make a right.